Ireland get that bounce back win over Wales in Wales. Ended up being a pretty close game. 22 points to 17. Ireland getting the victory. Although at one point it was 22 points to 3. So it was kind of a game which swung one way and then another. So I guess there's things that both coaches will take from it. Especially given that a lot of the big guns were rested for this game. There were some of them, coming back. But yeah, a lot of guys who are fighting for a position, had to perform in this game, and they kind of did so in a bit of a mixed bag of success and not so much. But I thought Jared Evans was under a fair bit of pressure early, but he did pretty well. I remember at one point he was getting chased. Right by his own goal line, but he still managed to get a good clearing kick away, and then one of the Irish guys took the ball over the sideline. So, I guess you target the young guy early, but I thought he was doing pretty well. 8 minutes, Carty gets a penalty for Ireland. Decent distance on it. It's kind of a pressure kick for him as well. Another guy who needed to put his hand up. I think he ended up getting man of the match. But yeah, certainly put in a good shot at goal there to make it 3-0. Evans hit one in reply at 15 minutes, a bit of an easier kick, but he still slotted that comfortably to make it 3-3. And then the rest of that first half, in terms of the scoring, and early second half, is all Ireland's way. Stockdale on 17 minutes, and he didn't have his best game against England, so it was very nice to see him back, kind of firing all guns blazing. He got I wrote a note, I said magic try. I guess I'll go with that. A magic try. It was all from Conway's line break. And Conway did one of those kind of in and out things where nobody just touches him. It's almost surreal where he keeps running and running longer than he should. But nobody touched him. And he's the man who threw the ball to Stockdale, who just needed to finish. Icardi set that up with a nice little pop pass as well. So that made it 10 points to 3. As they kicked the conversion. But yeah, magic try. It was kind of scintillating stuff to see. 26 minutes, Evans misses a penalty, and then moments later, Stockdale kicks through a loose Shingler offload, which was probably not on. Stockdale's the first guy to it. Kicks it with his boot, and as opposed to kicking it with his hand. That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? But he regathers and he scores. They missed the conversion, but that makes it 15 points to 3. And that's again Stockdale. That try was his own one. The rest, the previous one was pretty much Conway, but this one was all Stockdale. And we've seen him do that multiple times before. And he finished very well. So I mean, the first half, to be fair, was full of probably a few too many errors from both sides. There were a lot of turnovers. It was kind of to be expected given that so many of the guys were coming to this game cold. But as I said, some guys were looking up. End of the first half, Ireland win a scrum penalty. Cardi misses a shot at goal, so it goes in 15 to 3 at halftime. And Ireland winning a scrum penalty at the end of that first half was kind of an ominous sign of what things were to come. In the second half, though, Patchell comes on, as apparently Gatlin said in the pre-match that he was going to give them 40 each, and that was perhaps a bit of a catalyst for Wales to get going in the second half. Like, he's certainly done himself no harm in this game for getting a seat to Japan, potentially, has Reece Patchell. Not early in the second half because it was still Ireland. Wales started a bit sharper, but Ella Davis offloaded to an Ireland player, so it was kind of they were starting to get going and then would make a mistake. Ireland on 8 minutes went many phases, but the Welsh defence hold and Chris Farrell eventually knocked it on. So again, there's still those kind of key moments. You're not sure how much one knock on will count against the player going into selection time, but the Welsh defence at that point held really well. 51 minutes, Leon Brown gets a yellow card. The Welsh guys have been warned, and it's a scrum penalty. So the scrum was under a wee bit of pressure. He'd not been on that long, had Leon Brown. Pretty much came on, I think, start of the second half, and he was off 53 minutes, Conway gets a try, which, as the commentators actually said, he probably deserved. He gets it scratched off, though, as the pass was slightly forward, but still forward from Cardiff. So, yeah, no try for Conway there. 56 minutes, the scrum from Ireland continues to dominate and eventually leads to a penalty try. So that's on 57 minutes. This is what I'm saying. It's 22-3 at that point, and it's looking very one-sided. But it's this kind of if at that moment the Welsh ignition finally switches. It's also interesting, that's kind of the time that the Irish brought on a lot of the senior guys, like Toner came on, Best came on. I think Ringrose would be on and off and then back on again for replacements. But yeah, that's when the Welsh kicked it up, or perhaps when the Irish at 22-3, it's kind of easy to switch off. Not sure, but it was maybe a bit of both. The Welsh maul actually went close with 14 men, but Ireland managed to turn it over and clear. So by the time Brown came back on, the yellow card scoring was only 7 points for Ireland, which is kind of about normal. You expect about one try during the yellow card, and that's what they got. But Wales were unlucky actually not to score towards the end of that. 63, Owen Lane gets his try on debut, which is a very nice thing for him. He picks up a bounce pass, and Patchell kicks a pressure conversion to make it 10 points to 22. Ringrose gets one chalked off on 71 minutes, so it's another one that Ireland had chalked off. Aki is pinged for tackling James Davis in the air. It is an interesting one, that tackling in the air rule, because most of the times you see it is when guys are contesting like a high kick. But this one, he was just jumping for a really high pass. So you have to wonder, if someone were to run down the field just jumping up and down, would you be able to tackle them? I'm not saying this was wrong. I mean, the guy was in the air, and Aki did put him on his backside. There's no kind of disputing that, but I'm just not sure about that rule, how it always applies. Anyway, so that was the second one scratched off. 75, Patchell gets a try. The forwards have been going through the phases for Wales, and eventually Patchell steps Ringrose and puts on a good conversion. It wasn't a hard conversion, but under the pressure of having to get a potential within winning distance, it was a mental pressure at one, and he slotted it no problem. So 22-17, but then in the last few minutes, Wales aren't able to score any more points. So that is the way it finished. So it's a bit of a sad one for Warren Gatland to not get that final win at Cardiff. But again, he wasn't going for that. Otherwise, he wouldn't have switched up his team so much. So I guess for him, in the scheme of things, it's not very important. It just would have been nice. His focus is solely the World Cup, and he would have got what he needed out of this game. Likewise, Ireland, after last week, needed a good win, and this is about as good as it gets. Well, I mean, you could be better on the scoreline, but going to Wales and getting a win after changing all these players in your team is definitely a good result for them, and some guys certainly put their hands up. In terms of stats, the run meters actually went in Wales' favour, 384 to 339. Possession Wales, territory Wales, so 59% possession, 64% territory. But despite all those numbers, if you look at what Ireland did with their ball, clean breaks, 5 to Wales, 4 to Ireland. So you would think with all that possession and territory, maybe Wales would have had more, but it's pretty even. Defenders beaten, 12 to Wales, 21 to Ireland. So that Irish attack was certainly more potent, and their defence was certainly a bit stronger in this one, which is good after shipping all those points last week. So that's kind of more what we expect to see from Ireland, and not so much from Wales. Wales' tackling percentage was at 79%. Ireland was at 91%, which was a good foot forward to winning the game anyway. Ireland had to make 126 tackles to Wales at 78. In terms of individuals, Amos had 106 run meters, but no defenders beaten, so you can't help but wonder how much of that was just running the ball back from kicks unopposed, maybe, whereas Conway for Ireland had 81 run meters and 5 defenders beaten, so that seems a bit more like it. For tackling, James Davis had 10 from 10 for Wales. Henderson had 14 from 14 for Ireland, so those are good numbers that both coaches will like to see. This actually puts New Zealand back atop of the world rankings. Ireland won, which bumped them up, but not by enough to put themselves into first. I think they had to win by 15. So Ireland are up to second, England are still in third, and drops Wales down to fourth. So it's all very tight up at the top. From first to fourth in one game is a massive shift. But like I said before, Gatland is only focused on the World Cup. If he really wanted to win at home and keep his number one world ranking, he would have picked a different team. But he's using this as a chance to have one last look at some players, rest some of the big guys, and get ready for the Rugby World Cup, which is not too far away. You guys let me know your thoughts on this game. How did you think it went? How do you interpret the tackling in the air thing? If someone's just bouncing like a rabbit up and down the field, can they be tackled, or do you just have to get that timing perfectly right when they land on the ground? It's an interesting one. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.